In the field of public security, facial recognition technology has increasingly become a helper for government and businesses. Facial recognition technology captures the face feature and compares it among face images to determine identity. Once your face data is entered into a database and you happen to stay in the monitored area, then you can be found, even tracked. It sounds like a sci-fi movie, but seriously, it is achievable. Let me introduce you a cautionary tale. Phenomenon 1. Unauthorized couriers. A reasonable suspicion let enforcement officer access investigative system into personal tool, even without a search warrant. In China, there is a victim X who repeatedly suffered domestic violence at the hand of her police officer husband. Over 2 years, she escaped for 16 times, but each time, her husband was able to track her down.
My ex-husband threatened me. He said, "Don't you know about the Skynet system? As long as you are in this country, as long as you are still alive, I can find you. Just need time." When I got off the subway, he was standing right behind the exit, looking at me, face to face.
How would she be found every time? Yes, her husband, a police officer, played a role. And yes, facial recognition technology. You might also be confused. Is such an abuse justified? Unfortunately, it is an unspoken reality. The facial recognition technology is being wildly abused by public institutions. In addition, phenomenon 2, political surveillance and manipulation. It manifests as discriminatory, selective enforcement, and surpass dissent. In Russia 2022, the government used facial recognition technology to track, arrest opposition, politicians, and protesters. Phenomenon 3, data leakage and tracking. In 2024, the facial recognition system of India Tamil Nadu Police Office has leaked over 800,000 data points and 50,000 suspects' facial data. However, this unregulated internal abuse by governments raises fundamental concerns, including violating privacy rights. Unauthorized data collection threatens citizens' privacy as protected under Article 12 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Exacerbating social inequality. Facial recognition technology's accuracy varies by race and gender, causing minorities and women to become the main victims of technical misidentification. Eroding democratic freedoms. Facial recognition technology has enabled the government to conduct large-scale surveillance, which has surpassed political participation, freedom of speech, and assembly, which protected by the Article 19 and 21 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. Ultimately, it has been the blurred line between privacy and public safety that has enabled such internal abuse to persist. First, the ambiguous international law. Nowadays, the attitude of international law towards facial recognition technology remains ambiguous, lacking concrete and enforceable regulation. Existing human rights frameworks such as UDHR and the ICCPR mainly focus on the privacy protection. But fail to provide specific guidelines on the legal use of facial recognition technology and data collection limited. Slow legislative progress worldwide has allowed enforcement agencies to expand deployment without clear legal constraints. Besides, the internal regulatory mechanisms of enforcement agency have far lagged behind the development of facial recognition technology. Many countries have not established institutions to supervise it yet, and lack accountability mechanism for this abuse. In UK, despite warnings from the Information Commissioner's Office, public institutions are still applied. Besides, the European Union's General Data Protection Regulation stipulates the legality of data processing, but lacks enforcement mechanism, making it more difficult to penalize internal abuse. Meanwhile, the absence of transparency enables agencies to collect data and assert social control with almost no public supervision. Governments often refuse to disclose relevant data on the ground of national security or law enforcement need. In the United States, the American Civil Liberty Union attempted to request the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security to disclose facial recognition technology usage data through the Freedom of Information Act, but the result of failure is predictable. In this regard, as a multinational collaboration platform, the Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence should set an example and unite countries with its global influence in AI ethics and regulatory norms. The practical measures include upgrading technology optimization, urge technology vendors to avoid biased algorithms to improve recognition accuracy. Besides, add technical security log to ensure internal system record traceable. Ensure transparency report. Require governments and companies to publish the use of facial recognition technology with public agency, including preventive measures, data access, and audit. Establish regulatory mechanism. Encourage member states to develop relatively consistent regulatory standards to make sure the facial recognition technology operation complies with a clear legal framework. Mobilize public force. Strengthen global publicity on the abuse of facial recognition technology to stimulate more proactive social supervision in order to address pressure on the government and companies suspected of abusing, and should also encourage citizens, social organizations, as well as the media to actively participate into the regulation. Currently, the GPAI, in collaboration with various national governments, has proposed the principle on trustworthy AI. Democratic countries such as France, Canada, and Germany have responded to this initiative by establishing dedicated ethics committees and promoting collaborative efforts. There is now hope for China and Russia to join this effort as well. I believe what our people truly hopes for is to see facial recognition technology being used in ways that genuinely benefits everyone's life, such as chasing back the stolen phones, finding losing child, and capturing criminals.